Hi everyone, it's Kim back for another technique video. This is going to be a quick background technique created with distress paints. I had a customer come into the store today and he was curious about how to create some of the backgrounds on my tags that I had on display. And so I told him I would put together a video for him. So Frank, this is for you. So I am starting out with a number 8 manila tag. These are the larger ones, not the biggest, but the kind of standard size. And then I have 3 distress paints, Broken China, Seedless Preserves, and Wild Honey. These happen to be my all-time faves, and I like these a lot as background colors, but obviously you can pick whatever you like. You'll notice that I have a purple and a yellow, and most times you don't want to use purple and yellow because it will make brown. But with distress paints, they don't blend together the way other paints would. So you'll maintain the distinct colors of each of the paints, which is really nice. So the thing that's different about distress paint is that it's very fluid. It's much more liquid than an acrylic paint. You cannot water down an acrylic paint and get the same type of paint as distress paint. I think it is fairly unique, and I really do like it for creating backgrounds. I'm also working on a non-stick craft sheet. So what I'm going to do is mix the paints, and you can hear there's a little ball inside each of them. And so we'll want to do those to mix those up, especially because I haven't used mine in a while. And each of the tops, they have paint, little daubers on the top. You don't need to squeeze the bottles. Don't squeeze them. That's bad. If they get all gunky, this one's a little beat up, but you can see it's still moist. They don't dry out, which is really nice. You can buy replacement tops for these as well if you need to. So I am going to put down a whole bunch of paint here. A little bit of a... When you press down the dauber, that's what makes the paint come out. So if you squeeze too much, don't pay attention to me. I tend to squeeze a little bit, but just because I don't have a ton of paint in here. There we go. But you want to be pretty careful with squeezing. And then I'm going to spritz this with some water. Distress products react with water. The paints will become more fluid with the water. Distress stains and ink, you can remove color from those once they're dry. You can spritz them and get more designs. That's not the case with distress paint. With distress paint, once it's dry. You can't re-wet it. So we want to work with this when it's wet. And then I'm just going to swipe my tag through the paint, and you will see that you get some amazing effects. And you can even see here on my craft sheet, even though I've got that brown and purple, it's not mixing together to make brown. Let me see if you can see this here. So I can now, while it's still wet, I can spray, move this paint around some, and this is how you can get some really fun drips and get that real marbled effect in the background. Oh, it's so nice. But you can see that. I don't have any mud here. I've got purple running into my yellow. I want a little bit more yellow, so I'm actually going to go this way. Try to knock some of that off a little bit. Alright. So I love it. Really nice. Now, I'm going to. I have another piece of cardstock here, and I'm actually going to, this is just a piece of spare cardstock that I had. I've got too much purple now. But I can paint up that background. I'm just going to put that aside to dry and use that in an art journal page. So I'm going to clean up my excess paint on my craft sheet, and I could keep re-wetting that and picking that up on extra tags as much as I wanted to pick up all that extra ink or extra paint. So now don't panic about the tag curling. That'll flatten back out again. I am going to hit it with the heat tool just a little bit. And as it starts to dry, you could, before it's too much, so it's not completely dry yet, if I take some water and kind of splot that on there, yeah, you're going to get a little bit. But I think if you're looking for those little splatty dots, I think that distress stain is a better option for getting that look. Paints to me are really, the distress paints specifically, are about getting I got a little bit of a splash there. about getting a really beautiful background. And what I love the most about them is that the colors don't bleed and blend into each other. They kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird that they stay in their own spot. And you'll see my tag is flattened back out again. It's still a little damp. Okay. So you can see that I got a little bit of the water that came in and picked up. You got a few little drips there that came from the water. But if you're going to do that, if you're going to try to use the water to react some with the paint, you've got to do it while the paint is still wet. It doesn't have to be sopping wet, but it can't be completely dry. Once distress paints are completely dry, they are permanent. They will not react with water, and you can't move them. So be sure you like your look before you move on. So I really like that. But oh, I just love it. I love those colors together. I think I needed a little more blue, but that's okay. I got a little carried away with my seedless preserves. So once you have something like this, what can you do with this? I mean, this is really, it's great for a background. I have I'm going to try something on camera. I haven't tried this before, so we'll see if it works. I am using the picket fence, and I want to use it. I'm going to put it down here on my craft sheet, and I want to use it a little bit like an ink pad. So I have a Wendy Vecchi stamp set, and I want just very subtle, some of this texture here in the background, and I'm not overly concerned with how much text I'm getting. So I'm going to pick up some of that paint. And because I've got this darker color, oh yeah, oh that's so nice, I like it. So now I can use this paint to act as a stamp pad. Oh yeah, that's good. See, I don't think I ever did that before. I don't know. Maybe I have. I've done that with gesso, but then of course if you do a gesso resist, the gesso would go on first. And then you would put that down. And then, of course, we'll want to dry this. And it's going to fade a little bit as it dries. But that's great because then it really moves into the background and doesn't compete with my main image. I'll share with you what my main image is going to be. And use this fun little face stamp from Wendy Vecchi. I love it. It has the text already in it. So this is actually a stamp, and then I added just a little bit of color in the cheeks and the eyes and the lips and the little hat with gelatos, which are great. So once I have that, I can just continue to add layers. And I'm going to use the Dots and Dashes background stamp, also by Wendy Vecchi. And it comes on, because this is a real delicate background stamp. And her background stamps come on these nice pieces of plastic that I use as a stamp press. So that's just going to go on. Oh yeah. A little bit over there, over there. That's it. That's it. Walk away. Walk away. So that's it for that. And that's really what you're going to do is just continue to build up the layers on your tag. And then, of course, I'm going to add my finishing piece here, my main image in a sentiment. But I won't bore you with those details. I will have the finished tag at the end of the video that you can see and then also post it on my blog. So I hope you enjoyed today's quick and easy background technique using distress paints. Enjoy. Hi everyone, I'm back with my finished tag, and I just wanted to share with you a couple elements of the tag. Now that it's completed, I kind of got a little bit into the creative process, and I should have taken some photos along the way, but I had a bunch of ideas and started trying things out, and I'm finished, so I thought I would share the finished project and then tell you a little bit how I created everything. The beginning of the video, of course, we already went through and demonstrated how the background for the tag was created, and I added some of the dots and dashes from Wendy Vecchi, her background stamp, and then just some text from another word stamp. I also added this little vine image along the left-hand side of my tag here, and this is from the same stamp set the face stamp comes from, and that is in It's Face Art. That's the name of the stamp set. This is an older set, I think, and I'm not even sure when I picked it up, but I loved it because I love the face there. And so I added that little vine, up the one side. And then I kind of felt like my tag was missing something. So you can see the top and bottom of my tag is covered up a little bit with actually the top and bottom of another tag. So Wendy has some art parts called tag toppers. I don't have any in my stash, but I thought, well, I could just cut the top off of another tag and kind of make the same thing. So all I did was take a number 8 manila tag, and I can even, like I have extras here, and I cut the top off and a little strip from the bottom. And then I used a punch from Stampin' Up! To make a little design along the edge. This one I kept playing. And then I just used more of the Distress paint in the exact same way that I demonstrated in the beginning of the video to color these, but I kept the purple out. So I just used the Wild Honey and Broken China paint. And then I did put a little bit more of the white back in here. The little text, I don't know if you can see that. You'll be able to see it in the photos. I added that back in. The sentiment, in order for the journey to start, you need only take the first step, is a portion of a sentiment that is also included in that It's Face Art stamp set from Wendy Vecchi. So that was stamped on a manila tag, and then I cut the pieces out and inked the edges. This is Vintage Mesh, this stamp in the background, which is also a Wendy Vecchi background stamp. So after I did the Distress paint, I just stamped that on top, just like I demonstrated on the tag background here in the beginning of the video. And then I also used these little, if you see these little teeny tiny little bits here, those were the punch outs from, so there's never any trash, punch outs from the stamp. And the last thing that I wanted to share was adding this key. I actually had this sitting, I have all these little tchotchkes that you can't see off camera, that maybe I went to use in a project and I didn't use them, and they're just tossed here. And I was looking at an inspiration sheet that I have hanging up actually from Wendy Vecchi. So I wanted to mention this. I don't know if people know about this or keep these things, but I really like this. So when you get a new stamp set from Wendy Vecchi, this is my kind of art, they all include a piece of paper in the background, on the inside of the stamp set. And they look like this when you take them out. So they're just a sheet of her projects, maybe using the stamp, some of the images from the stamp set that you've bought from other places. So I have a bunch of these hanging up on my wall, and it really serves as great inspiration. Sometimes I think, man, what else am I need a little something extra on this project. And sometimes just by glancing over at Wendy's work, I might see something and oh, that's a great idea. I'll find something like this. Well, in one of her projects, she has this face stamp, and she kind of has a little mustache, I think, here, because that's all the rage. Is it still the rage? I don't know. But I had this key, and I thought, boy, that's kind of neat. I can kind of, mimic that a little bit. And then also the little inside of the key here says Journey. So travel and take another trip. It has a little description of Journey, which I think is great because as I close my journey with Eclectic Papery, I'm excited about what is going to come next. And so I thought this was the perfect tag, perfect sentiment for me to kind of take off in a new direction. So I'll have some photos of the tag at the end of the video, also on my blog, along with more details about how I created it and some links to where you can find products either at EP or somewhere else. So thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed. Take care.